Maybe you should tell the audience about how you first heard about building an airline.
It was way back in, it was 96, 97, right? I left RAP. You see, we sold Roslan Aziz Production, the repertoire, not the company, the repertoire to Warner Music, and set up another company called Rap Music. So you own the repertoire. And I was the first CEO. Good coverage. We were in, Billboard and all that. Unfortunately, we had this, not disagreement, but the way running the company, right? So I hate to see money wasted.
You and Roslan or who?
No, I was the CEO of RAP Music. Tony was like the group CEO at Warner, right? So Warner owns RAP Music.
I remember
so we're a subsidiary of Warner. So like I say, that was one incident where Roslan wanted an extra 40,000 for that, which I'm against. And then I got frustrated. I said, we're supposed to be commercial. You gave me KPIs to make sure that we are commercial, and you approve things like that. So I said, how do I manage it? So I actually give up. I told him, I said, this is a dog industry, I said, I don't want. I said, I wanted to do my own thing. So I went into fund management and whatever not. So one day I think it was 96 or 97, he called me. We kept in touch. We became friends. So out of that joint venture, we started becoming friends.
The best thing about the joint venture was me and Kamarudin became friends.
Yeah. So he was my travel agent. So wherever I travel, I use Warner because they are worldwide, right? I always get
good rates. Yeah.
So anyway, one day he said he wanted to set up an airline. So I said, great. But the airline that you wanted to start was a biz jet, not a low-cost carrier, a biz jet. So we actually kept the proposal, and I actually met a couple of second boarders company, the CEO second board, not the main board, the big board, the small board, because at that time everybody was signing joint ventures abroad, right? So it was great to do deals overseas, mergers and all that. So the lower liners didn't have the opportunity. So we are providing them a jet that they can lease. They could do their corporate deals and sign their deals on the plane. We can wrap the plane, their corporate colors, change the new uniform, stationaries on the plane. So it was a great deal. So each of them will contribute like 10 million. So they get like 2 weeks or 3 weeks a year to use that corporate jet. So that's
basically the first kind of fractional ownership jet, right?
And
that was my first idea.
Yeah.
Kamarudin had embellished.
Yeah. So then I actually promoted, and we got quite a good traction on that, So I got a few people who indicated they would like to be part of that joint ventures, right? Fractional ownership. And then we got hit by the Asian financial crisis, remember? So basically, it's a standstill, right? Economy died, nobody doing business, that exchange rate that started in Thailand. So that whole proposal was just kept in abeyance. Then we started doing our own thing. So I traveled to Iran, trying to do small businesses and all that.
I remember that.
Yes. And then it was no rush. I couldn't get out. So I actually drove all the way to the south of Turkey. And it was hard, man. It was winter, 18-hour stop, thing. And everybody was hassling me from police, the local...
Can you imagine driving from... Just tell everyone again exactly where you were driving from.
From a place called Urumqi, north of Iran, into a place called Van.
How far was that ride?
It wasn't that far, but the number of
What car
stops...
were you driving, by the way?
It was a Iranian pickup.
Not that Lamborghini, I
No.
suppose. It was an Iranian pickup. You're driving from... where?
Urumqi to Van.
This is in the middle of the Iran-Iraq war as well, by the way, just to let everyone know. Yeah, it was. There was a war going on at that time.
Oh, okay.
So carry on.
But it was the Kurdish, because of the Kurdish incursion.
And which the Kurdish are still fighting the Turks.
So we
and
got
the
stopped by
Iraqis.
police, local village people, the army. You got this.
Tell people your Tun Mahathir story.
Yeah. Because every time we get stopped, they say, passport so I should. Malaysia, they don't know. But when I say, Tun Mahathir, go. So obviously the Turkey love him, right? And I told Tun about it. And Tony, he just laughed about it. He said he's seen a lot of people using his name. That's the first time he read it.
Yeah.
So carry on.
So anyway, so I got to Van. So I call up Kim, who's Tony's PA. So she always handles my travel plan and all that. So I said, hey, I need help. They say, Tony looking for you. So I said, yeah, but I need help. I need you to book me a hotel in Istanbul and arrange for a flight. I remember because you got Balat Plak, a associate company.
Kamarudin is the original low-cost man, right? So that's why it fit the business really well, because here he is in the middle of Iran calling me up to get cheap hotel rates in Turkey using the Warner Music corporate rate.
Not cheap, affordable. Anyway, he got me the thing. And then he got on the phone. He said, hey, by the way, you got 20 million. I said, Tony, I'm asking only for a room in Istanbul. So he said, you got 20 million. I said, you get me the room, I get you the 20 million. And that's how it started, actually.
Yeah, I just said, you should say it, because I've said it many times. I said, I have this idea. You got 20 million. And he said, okay, get me the room first, I'll get you the 20 million. When I come back, I'll hear your idea out. And you explained that you knew nothing. You came to my office, which was Warner Music's office, which had given me to get rid of me. And Mui Plaza, which is now called something else.
Yeah.
Opposite the Shangri-La Hotel. And
I think a week later, I got back.
yeah, so explain. I remember it was in the evening. I remember you came up in the evening, and it always had some guys following him out. Right? Like a politician, he always had some
guys
mystery men. No, I think actually that time you came by yourself, right? Anyway, so tell the story.
So anyway, we sit down and chat, and then I said, okay, what is this all about? So he said he wanted 20 million to start up a low-cost carrier and all that. Right? So he saw Stelios on TV, and he actually went to look at
Stelios of the EasyJet.
EasyJet, yeah. He was waiting for a flight coming back from New York, right? After frustrated with whatever he heard.
Yeah, I decided to leave Time Warner.
.com days.
Yeah.
So anyway, he told me that he got this great idea. We should start a low-cost airline here. So I said, okay, this is different from the one we wanted to start earlier, which is a BizJet. They said, yes. Okay, I said, okay. I'll match you. That's how we started, right? And then I'll get you the 20 million.
Yeah. He said
Which I did.
He said 50-50.
Yeah.
I said, no, that's my idea, 151. But now we're actually completely equal.
Yeah.
And just describe to people, what did you think? I've never asked you. When I told you about the business plan, there was no, all these bankers produce memorandums. I want people to understand how truly entrepreneurial Kamarudin was, right? He had the money, I had no money, or he had access to money. And he was a banker. I didn't produce a presentation. I didn't do anything really.
No, it's just a concept.
Yeah, so explain.
So how did you pitch it?
No, he wanted to do. I basically know a little bit about the airline business now because of the BizJet proposal, right? So you know roughly what the aviation industry is like. So, but what he's pitching now is no more the fractional ownership. It's more of a low-cost carrier.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, but he was passionate about it. And I said, okay, we'll do the business. And I wanted to insulate it so less risk. You see, aviation is a big boys game.
Yeah.
So if you're able to do it at low capital with low risk, it's great. You may have all the money in the world. Sometimes there's no opportunity to play the big boys game. So that was an opportunity. So I agree first. Then we do the study.
He agreed. You agreed basically on a concept.
Yeah, I agreed on the concept.
There was no business plan. There was
concept,
nothing.
Your passion, a little bit about the aviation because we did a paper and everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but it was his passion, that concept, and then the only thing I think, okay, how do you package it so that you don't take any excessive risk? So, but it was an opportunity to actually play the big boys game with virtually no money at the time. Yeah. The way we've structured
there was no money. I remember my side. It'd just be great for the world to hear how you remembered the beginning.
So, I somewhat know where you can actually go and find the guy who would have 20 million and would be interested in investing. Because at that time, I just made him about 70 million. So I was thinking that I could approach him and say, hey, look, give me part of the 70 million to invest in. And we're supposed to give him about 50%, 51 in fact. You have control of the thing, So that didn't work out because obviously, Tony went to present his case to the guy and I wasn't around. I was in Australia or something like that. And then you called me and said, hey, Dan, sorry, we blew it. because the guy obviously rich man, rich family, so he was saying something like, why are you hiring people when
Din got the financing, Din got the 20 million.
Yeah.
Me and Dato Pahamin went to see the guy. And, I was briefing him what we've done. We've done this, we've done this, we've done this. And the guy said, well, how come you didn't tell me about it? You were my partner, and I, in my normal direct style. He hadn't put any money in yet. I said, well, you're not my partner yet. Because you haven't put the money in, right? So I just said it.
So he got upset.
He got upset. He's
Sensitive.
rich dude who was sensitive, and
But we are friends still.
yeah, he's someone that we know very well
Okay.
now. But he was smart as well because he believed in the model.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to mention his name now, but he'll know who he is. And he walked out of that. I walked out of the meeting with Dato Parman. I said, I think I've blown it. I felt really bad. And Parman said, there's no problem. Tony, with your personality, it's better you don't work with anyone like that. And it was very wise advice from Dato Parman. And I told Din, and Din was really cool. And I want people to know that. I mean, I just blew 20 million ringgit that we needed to start this airline. I said, you know what?
Then we restructured.
Yeah, I said, you know what? We're just going to have to do it another way because there was no money. But we both were confident, right? We never worried. And I think throughout our life, and now we're going through COVID, there's not 1 minute that we feel we're going to fail. We feel we're going to come back stronger and better. We never were dejected. We were never like, oh no, this is the end or over. But talk about that. After I blew the 20 million, then at that point, did we have a deal with? We didn't, did we?
We were discussing with the RB.
Yeah.
And there was a 40 million liabilities at stake. And then we were talking about the one.
No, 100 million, I think.
No, 40 million.
Was it? Oh,
Liabilities, 40 million.
No, there was 100 million loan stock.
180 million loan stock.
Yeah.
They have given advance about 180 million. So there were about 40 million liabilities. So we've gone back to Datuk Tik and said, as opposed to we pay you off for the liabilities, share the liabilities, we go on the assumption that we didn't have the 20 million anymore. So we said, okay, we might as well use the 20 million as to help us with the cash flow. So as opposed to putting the 20 million to DRB, we'll keep the 20 million because we can't say we don't have money. Otherwise they say, they'll shut the door. So we'll say we'll pay as time gets on. Yeah. So they pay their 20 million, we pay our 20. That's how the liabilities of that 40 million were shared. So we bought at 1 ringgit and share the 40 million liabilities because it was supposed to be 20 million.
Yeah, so it's actually a kind of debt deal, right? But can you remember, go back, I'd like the audience to know, our first meeting with DRB HICOM, can you remember what I said when they asked me how much you're going to pay? You don't remember? So they said, how much are you going to pay for this airline? And I cheekily said 1 ringgit. And they said...
Oh, you said 1 ringgit at the time?
I said 1 ringgit. And they said, you can have it tomorrow. And I thought to myself, damn, I should have said pay me to take away this airline.
That was to Dato Tin or Ganesan?
Ganesan and Dato Tin.
Was it?
Yeah. And I think another brilliant move from Din, there was a very smart person, Dato Mazna, who last minute, I think she saw something in us. And she said, can we own 5% of the airline, right? And I said, smart. I said, no problem. And Din was like, no. This will be a problem because they'll stop us doing things, etc. So I remember him negotiating that 5% out with Dato Tik, right?
And Dato Pamin was there. Yeah. So suddenly Dato Tin came and proposed that they retain 5% because one of the board members, Dato Mazna, wanted 5%, right? So in case we were successful, so they can, basically
she was hedging.
Monetize their shares. Anyway, you and Dato Pamin agreed. So I was kicking your leg.
Yeah.
So I said, no. That's when we introduced a funder. There was no funder actually. We introduced a funder. I said, okay, hang on. Tony, I think we need to consult our funder. Because I just wanted them to come out. And then I remember Tony say, hey, you don't screw this up. We are almost there. So don't let the 5% screw the whole deal. My concern is because if you want to cut clean, I didn't want any legacy, right? Because don't forget, DRB is still, part of government, influential and all that. So I said, look, at the end of the day, 5% means nothing. To be fair, we also never expected the thing to,
Yeah.
exponentially grow like that. So I wanted to cut clean because we're going to put a lot of effort, resources, energy into it, right?
Yeah.
We're going to put our savings into that as well. So we didn't want that, anybody to stop us from doing the things that we wanted to do. Even at 5%, DRB can be very influential.
Did they have a seat on the board and stuff like that as well?
No, for 5%, I don't know what they want. I stopped at the 5% request.
Right.
So in fact, I told Tony, don't worry. Okay, God willing, we'll still go through it. But he said, you make sure the deal go through. So what I did was, they were spending about 4 million a month trying to keep the company afloat. So I told Dato Din, essentially, I said, look, it'll take time for us to go back, rehash the whole thing, calculate whether the funder will be willing to go through the thing. So that is a time is not something they can afford. So they decided, they came back and they said, okay, let's forget
Yeah.
about the 5%. Let's
I think
Close the deal.
this is the way my partnership worked with Kamarudin, in that, we complement each other and we're strong. I would have done the deal at 95.5, and he was right, because he would have
Caused
my
problems.
no offense to the DRB,
yeah,
but you just wanted to do
just my
know,
personality, we would have had a lot of issues, I would imagine. So the DRB were fantastic, and we were so lucky to have them because they were really supportive of us. But yeah, that's kind of how it's always been. There's always a check and balance, right? They will always think of something that I don't think of, and that's why it's worked very well. Actually, after that deal, there was one shareholder who did stay on, Mofaz. And we made
Fauzi.
him a lot of
Fauzi.
money, actually.
Yes.
He just said, I'm going to ride with you guys.
0.75.
Yeah. In fact, his son drove
Fairuz,
the Formula One
Fairuz.
team. And he rode with us, and I think we got his money back plus more.
He got his money back.
Yeah. But from a long way. So he was pretty smart, Haji Mofaz. Well, Haji Fauzi, sorry, mental block, senior Fairuz. And that was that. So let's roll over. We started. I first asked you about it when you're on the way from Iran to Turkey. I then meet you in Mui Plaza to tell you the deal. We missed out a bit because we roped in Dato Pahamin.
We missed out the meeting we had in Klanajaya
Yeah.
when they had the dinner.
Tell them about that. But let me just, so I want you to talk about that famous meeting we had with Dato Pahamin.
Yeah.
You missed out meeting Tun because
Australia.
you were in
Birthday in
Australia. I went with.
Amin and
I
Aziz.
want to also talk about how we brought in Dato Pahamin and Aziz. Rosman came to my house.
Yeah.
I never met Rosman before. Came to my house, and he's now still our
With us.
ED. And he came to my house, and he says, "Din sent me here. I'm supposed to build an airline model." And we kind of like, I didn't know. I mean, I thought the way he looked at me like you're a lunatic, and he starts. We're in a house, and he says, "Where do we start?" I said, "Really, I don't know." And the first hour we spent on the internet looking for the price of oil, and that was the start of the model. So we're at that stage. It's me and Din and Rosman doing that. I persuade Aziz Bakar in a sauna. We were in a sauna having a steam bath, and he was in BMG Music, which made the worst music but sold a lot of records. We were always jealous of them. All their music sounded the same. Slam, UK, Search, just had different length of hair. But they sold millions of records. And I said to Aziz, "Hey, do you want to join us?" Now, Aziz is also another visionary because
He said yes.
though he looks like he's stoned all the time, he just said yes. So I thought, God, the only people who believe in me are guys from the music business. Any banker I saw or any rich guy I saw was all like, "Okay, we'll see you, Mark Lankester." And so we're at that stage, right? We've got Aziz in. It's me, Aziz, and Kamarudin. Really convincing trio. And I said one day in a roti canai store, I said, "Hey, how do we get an airline license?" And everyone looked at each
Useful.
other like, "How long do you get a airline license?" So we all looked at each other like, "Don't know." And then Aziz mentioned the famous Malaysian words, we need political connections. So we all looked at each other like, we have none. And so I then said, hey, what about asking Dato Pahamin, who was Chief Secretary to the Government for Transport?
No.
Domestic trade. He was helping us fight piracy.
On the music business.
In the music business. And as I said, are you mad? He throws people out of his office. He punishes people by making them sit outside his office in a desk. He beats up taxi drivers. So I was like, hey, we got nothing to lose, right? So 3 of us went up there. Me, you, and Aziz, right?
Yeah.
And we presented to him, and he just listened. And he's a fourth visionary. He just said, this is a great idea. And you guys are honest and hardworking and smart. I'm in. What do you want me to do? And I said, can you be chairman? He went, yeah, sure. I'm retiring soon. And I said, can you get us to see Tun Mahathir? And he said, oh, problem. I'm not sure Tun likes me much. But I said, let's try anyway. So we're at that stage, right? We've got Pahamin in, we've got, as you said, 4 of us now. We've grown from the 2 of us to 4 partners, right? In AirAsia, and we're planning to see Tun Mahathir, right? So then we see Tun Mahathir. I won't go through that because I've said it many times. Din wasn't there. He was in Australia having a holiday.
Working holiday.
In the frigging Gold Coast. I'm like, never worked that out. We had a 5th guy come in, SK Chia, who was the CFO. Rosman didn't join us, right? He thought we were on another planet.
Did it?
Planet Xeon, I think. And so he didn't join us. And SK Chia was supposed to be the finance director. So we had the meeting with Tun Mahathir. And I turned up at Putrajaya at like 6 in the morning, right? Because I was so scared about being late. The appointment was like 10, right? And Tun Mahathir is kind of a scary guy, right? You don't want to be late for him. So I turned up at 6 in the morning. Putrajaya was actually locked. The security door was locked. So I had to sit outside the steps. Finally go in. Aziz comes along. Some guy says, oh, you're seeing Tun today. He said, yeah. I said, why? About music piracy? And he said, no, we're starting an airline. Of course he laughed. But we were used to that by now. Everyone laughed when we said we were starting an airline. And then Dato Pahamin came in and SK Chia came in. And then Dato Pahamin was talking to a bunch of dudes in a suit. I said, who are those guys? He said, you won't believe it. Before we see Tun Mahathir, Malaysian Airlines are going in with their 8 billion restructuring. So I was like, okay. I was planning my next career in TikTok in 30 years' time. And as it, we're doomed. So then we get, and then the opposition saw him as well. Fadil Noor and Lim Kit Siang to ask for permission for Anwar Ibrahim to go for a back operation. So I thought, he's going to be in a bad mood as well. So we go in there. I don't know if many people have been to Prime Minister's office, but it's a big office, right? So you can land a 737 in it. And it takes a long time to walk to the door. And he says, make it fast. I don't feel very well.
Oh, no.
Dato Pahamin had got the appointment, to his credit, with Tan Sri Badaria, who was very supportive and has always been a friend. And, so I thought, great, opposition, MAS, and he's not feeling well. So it's like, whoa, welcome to AirAsia. And I brought out a CD, Music Always Saves the Day. So I pulled out an SM Salim CD, which I had recorded, my last album at Warner Music, I had recorded with. And I brought the CD out. I said, I just bought a present for you, Tun. It wasn't Tun at the time. That was Sri, I think. And it was SM Salim, Tan Sri SM Salim, who's passed away now, one of my artists, duetting with Siti Nurhaliza with the Malaysian Philharmonic Orchestra, which was Tun's pet project, right? And he kind of looked at it, smiled a little bit. And then we did the presentation. And I did my Dog and Pony show. I made one joke about destroying Singapore. And he smiled a little bit. And then at the end of the meeting, he just said, you have my blessing, but, so we were like elated for 1 nanosecond. And he said, but you have to go and buy an airline. So we came out of that meeting. And he said, he was also, I would say, the fifth visionary, was he said, you guys are going to succeed because you don't know anything about airlines and you're really passionate. And I thought, wow. And he really knew everything about low-cost carriers. It's unbelievable. Yeah, wow. He'd been to Ireland, he'd seen Ryanair.
Well read.
And, he really knew his stuff. And so, we walked out of that room and my CFO SKHR resigned on the spot. So he was like, he was the second Mark Lankester. He said, no, this ain't going to work. Where are you going to buy an airline from? It's doomed. I quit. I mean, literally coming out of Tun's office, our finance chief resigned. Okay, I haven't actually said that story before. Din was still in Australia.
In the Gold Coast.
Nonchalant about what was happening. And I told Din, and then he came back. Aziz Bakar was like me. He was like, we'll find an airline. And Aziz Bakar was always the bringer of amazing deals. Came to us and said, there's an airline called Pelangi Air for sale. And were you in the meeting?
I went to see the guy.
Okay, so you can talk about the story, but I always remember that airline, the balance sheet didn't balance. Okay, I was an accountant. I'd never seen a set of accounts. It should be Museum Negara. It didn't balance. So anyway, Din went. I didn't go to that meeting actually. You and Aziz went, right? So maybe you can tell the public about that meeting.
Instead of buying over, he said, why don't you invest in us? Then allow them to manage it still and pump in about 100 million.
Yeah, they said, give us 100 million.
We'll turn
this around for you. We need 100 million cents, right? So we came out of that meeting and that was over. So then where are we going to buy an airline? And I'm super positive. There's a guy called Kanesan who I knew was used to do music stuff with us when DRB wanted concerts and stuff and had our Sheila Majid to perform in Langkawi and stuff. And I said, hey, you guys own an airline, don't you? And he said, yeah. I said, it's called AirAsia, isn't it? He said, yeah. And AirAsia was kind of a weird airline. You saw it sometimes. You saw it at the airport sometimes. You never saw it again. And I didn't really know enough about it. But I said, and he said, why? I said, can I buy it? He said, you can have it tomorrow. We hate it. And that was the start.